Hello, hello, hello. Today, just building a simple Next.js application, full stack, and answering any questions you may have for me. Hope everyone's doing well. With that said, going to jump in and get started in just a moment. All right, so we'll kick things off by creating our repo, and I'll just name this Prisma crud app. We keep the default configurations and keep it public. We won't add a readme, no .get ignore. That'll be add with the project, and we'll keep the license to what it is set at currently, and then click create repository. I'm just going to copy this to make sure I don't mix up the name. And I'm using Gitpod so I don't have to install the project on my local desktop. I'll be able to have it remotely containerized on Gitpod. So if I just paste it in, we see the name of the repo listed there. And I'll be using VS Code as the editor, and we'll just keep the default standard remote desktop size instead of adding anything extra, and then click continue. All right, so now we have a familiar face. Looks just like the VS Code that we're used to. In the terminal of the project, I'm just going to type in the latest. In the terminal of the project, just going to type in the npx command to install the latest version of a Next.js app. And I'll just install it in the current directory. So add a space then dot and press enter. For the project, we will be using TypeScript. We'll say yes to slimp, yes to tailwind, no to the src directory, yes to the app router, yes to the turbo pack, no to the import alias. And just give it a few moments to finish the installation. And we'll just give it a few minutes to finish installing. Just building a full stack CRUD app. Would love to hear from anyone that's out there. I hope everyone's doing well today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, so it looks like the installation is complete. All right, to kick things off, I'll close this down. Let me know if you can't see that or if it needs to be any bigger or smaller. But I'm going to update the package.json so that it has a distinguished package manager, and we're going to set the npm to 10.5.2. And we've also included additional overrides. This is to make sure that our project remains compatible with all the dependencies that we'll be using. Then we'll head to the page.tsx file that's located in the app directory. This is the home page of our application. I'm going to remove the default coding provided by Next and replace it with a div. And inside of that div, I'll include home page just to have some text on screen. And we'll remove the initial image import provided by Next. Next, I'm going to remove the default styling from the application within the global.css file. And I'm going to set the height of the application and the width to 100% to ensure consistency and responsiveness with the layout. So we'll say HTML body, we'll say body, comma, HTML, comma, colon root, comma, dot app. And inside of it, we'll set the height to 100%. The width will be set to 100%. We'll add apply and set the text size to small. And the overflow on the x-axis will be set to hidden. All right, this will care for the initial default styling. The last thing I'll do is add Daisy UI. And this is to help with provide some components to make our coding a little easier for the CRUD app. So if you head to daisyui.com, you'll go to their landing page. Then we'll click on how to use. And you should be redirected to install Daisy UI as a Tailwind plugin. And we'll copy this npm command to install the Daisy UI package into the library. So we'll head back to the terminal. And we'll paste in the command and press enter. Okay. And then the next step in the documentation is to add the plugin. So I'll just copy this plugin and it goes within the global CSS file. So we'll just paste this within the global.css. And now we're ready to spin up our application. And I also want to publish this code to our GitHub. So if you're using VS Code, there is an extension, or a button that will give you the ability, that should be labeled source code. And if you click on it, you actually have the ability to update the Git repo directly from the source code button versus the terminal. So under the source code, if you click on more actions, you have the ability to create a branch and do pretty much everything that you can from the terminal from this shortcut. But for right now, I'm just going to add update as a comment and then click commit. And then what this will do is it's going to update this to our main branch. And then we'll just click publish branch. Give it a few moments. All right, everything should be up to date now. I'm just going to close that option so I see the application within the sidebar. And if we go back to GitHub and refresh the screen, we now see that we have a Next.js application with the initial comment of update on the main branch. Perfect. So with that, we're now ready to integrate a database into the application. And I'm going to be using Prisma to communicate with our ORM. I'm going to be using Prisma as the ORM to communicate with the Vercel database. Hey, how's it going? Yep, I appreciate you stopping by. Just coding a full stack application today. Enjoying the day off from work, hanging out a little bit. I'm not 100% sure just yet. I have been playing with the idea of doing some form of a tracker to keep up with all of the events and grades of my kids. So maybe I will build the initial view of that, and then we can come back in and add in additional features and models later on. So maybe that will be something that I build and we can turn it into an actual video that you can follow along with at a later date. So that could be today's game plan. Yep. I appreciate it. I genuinely do. We could add user authentication. I didn't intend to. Not saying that we can't add it now or at a later time. I just didn't plan on adding that initially for this project. That's all. But you can certainly include it. It's always a good idea to include authentication. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Certainly. I appreciate the support. Absolutely. Right, right, right. Yep. We could jump into it now. So we're at the point now where we're ready to integrate the database. And like I mentioned, we're going to be using Prisma as the ORM and Postgres to persist our data. So in the terminal, to kick things off, go ahead and type npm i-d for development and Prisma and press enter. This is just going to install Prisma. Then we'll need the Prisma client. This will give us access to our models and additional Prisma functions or methods to allow us to interact or mutate, capture data from the database. So we'll install it by typing the command npm i at Prisma slash client and press enter. And a good practice is just to make sure that everything installed properly. If we head to the package.json, which is the brain of our project, pretty much controls all of the dependencies. It lets us know what exactly our project consists of. Under dependencies, you should see at Prisma slash client, which is the Prisma client, and dev dependencies, you'll see Prisma. So we installed it successfully. And then the final command we'll need to run is to initialize Prisma. And what we should see after we type this command is a directory in the root of the project named Prisma, and within it a schema.prisma file. So we'll type in the command npx prisma init and press enter. That's going to give us access to the Prisma directory. And we'll give it a few minutes to finish installing. And if we look in the root of our project, we see that we have the schema.prisma file, and it also included a .env file, which is where we'll store our environment variables that will allow us to store secret or confidential password keys safely within the project. So to make sure this isn't included in the Git file, if we go if we make sure this isn't included in GitHub, if we click on the .gitignore file and add .env, that's going to make sure that this file is not included once we update GitHub. And we'll close out the .env file. Now let's go ahead and establish a database via Vercel. So if we head to vercel.com, it's free to sign up. And everything that we'll be doing in this project doesn't cost anything, so you should better follow along at no additional cost. If you click on login, once you're logged in, you should be redirected to your project's overview window, wherein if you've ever deployed any projects, you're going to see those listed here. And as you can see on my screen, I have a warning letting me know that I'm using an older version of Node, and I'll need to upgrade it to Node.js22, one of my prior projects. But for right now, we'll click on the storage tab. And what we want to do is create a database, and we'll be using a serverless Postgres. So we'll click create. First, we'll select the region that's closest to us, and it should be automatically recommended, but if not, just be sure to take a look at the list and select the region that's closest to you. And for our project needs, the free tier will work just fine. No credit card is required. Then we'll click continue. Name the project something that you'll like, and that'll be easy to keep up with. I'm just going to name it Next Crud App. Then click create. And then once it is finished provisioning, you'll get a message that the database is created successfully. Then click done. You'll be redirected to the individual database store, where we have all of the sensitive information that we'll be storing within the project that'll allow us to safely communicate with or safely establish a connection between the Next.js project and Vercel. So we'll go ahead and click on copy snippet, and we'll head back to our Git pod and click on .env, and we can actually highlight everything within this file and delete it. And we'll paste in the code that we just copied. We'll close this file out. And we're actually done with this window at this point. We can go ahead and close out Vercel for now. We'll shift our focus to now update or create a schema that will be published into the database. So within the Prisma folder, within schema.prisma, first let's remove the output that is listed within the client object, so that all we see on screen is generate the client and the provider. If we, underneath it, you'll notice another object, a data source DB. This is indicating the provider that we'll be using to connect to the database, and also the URL, which is currently stored within the env file. And then underneath it is where we'll want to establish the models that'll be organized in the data within our database. So this is going to be video one of the multiple video series where we're going to build a tracker that allow us to keep up with all of the events and grades, lessons, classes of our child. So I'm going to start by just creating a model named student. Our student model will need to have a ID, which will be a string. This will be automatically generated by Prisma. We'll just use the at ID at default, and we'll pass in CUID, be sure to call it. Then we'll need to store a name. This will be the name that we will give to our child. We should already know our kid's name, but we'll just include it. And this can be a nickname, first name, last name, whatever you want. I think for right now, name will be suffice. And then we'll add updated at, which will just allow us to know when we created this file. Updated at date time at updated at. And we'll also want to know when we created the file. So we'll add created at date time at default, and then inside of the curly braces or parentheses, we'll add now and be sure to call it. So this is pretty much it for right now to get us started with the CRUD app. We have a schema. Inside of the schema.prisma file, we have a model named student where we'll be automatically incrementing the ID. We'll store the name as a string, and then we'll capture updated at and created at. And of course, later on, we'll add additional things to this. But for right now, this is more than enough to get us started. With our models updated for the database, with our models updated within the schema.prisma file, and we have a connection set up for Postgres for sale, we're now ready to push these changes to our database so that we can organize the students that we create within our files. I need some additional information. I'm sorry, I need an additional function, not information, to make sure that we check for a connection. And if a connection isn't there, we'll have the ability to establish one. Um, so I am going to cheat a little bit, if you will, and versus copying this code over again and typing it out, I'm just going to go to the off.js documentation. It has a quick, simple function that we can copy very quickly and paste it into our code to establish that function. So we'll go to off.js, adapters, Prisma, and we're just going to copy this off.ts function. In the root directory, we'll add a folder named lib, and inside of it, a file named prisma.ts. I'm just going to paste in the function. Uh-oh, looks like I copied the wrong one. I copied the off.ts, excuse me. I need the, wait a minute, where did it go? There it is. I need the prisma.ts, excuse me. So from the documentation under configuration, click on prisma.ts and just copy it. And then we'll paste this inside of our prisma.ts file that looks a lot better. And with this function, it's going to give us access to the Prisma client. And then as we need to access the models and different methods from Prisma, this is going to allow us to do so rather easily. So be sure to save this file and close it out. And then back in the terminal, we're now ready to push those changes to our database. So the first command to push these changes is we'll type npx prisma db push. And press enter. And this is going to push those changes and sync them with our database. And then the next command we'll want to type is npx prisma generate and press enter. And with that, we should now have access to the Prisma client. Our database is now in sync with the Prisma schema. And we have our workspace in Gitpod. So all is well. So at this point, let's just make sure that the changes actually took place. So I'll open a second terminal and we'll type the command npx prisma studio. This is going to give us access to a lightweight interface provided by Prisma. That's basically just going to allow us to see our models and updates that we provided. And as you can see, we currently have a student model with the fields of ID, name, updated, and created at. So perfect. What's up? What's up? How's school? Good. Right. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. How was school? Oh, gosh. How was school? Good. It was better today? How was your day? Well, it was good. So much. Oh, help me back. Help me back with both arms. Oh, I'm suffocating. You're suffocating, honey. You can't breathe. Oh, God. I'm sorry, bud. Man. You had a good day today? Oh, yeah, they said something about football trial. They did? Yeah. When is it? Today, tomorrow, and tomorrow. Well, the day after tomorrow. But the thing is, we got to go back to work. The thing is what? That I didn't go to summer workout, so they don't know, and I need a physical. So we can get you a physical. and you did summer workouts at another school, so you just know that you did them back in the backyard, so you know that you just got to go out and put in some work. You afraid of a little work? No, it's just I don't know if I can get me a physical. Oh wait, no, you already got one, right? We'll get you one. Wait, it's by the trials and tomorrow and the day after. Yeah. Yeah. Your class? Yeah. All right. Yep. I'm sure that didn't feel good. Yeah, I know it did hurt. All right, so we are back. Hello, hello, hello. I am back. So just to catch everyone up so far, what we have is a Next.js application that's connected currently to Vercel Postgres database via Prisma. And we've confirmed that our Prisma models are now synced with the Prisma Studio, where we can see those models now. We notice the fields of ID, name, updated at, created at under the student model. So before we update our code to Git, let's just make sure that our application actually runs. And I'm going to adjust my layout a little bit as well. So we'll, in the terminal, we'll type the command npm run dev and press enter. We'll give it a finish moment, another moment or two to finish loading. And as you can see, we have the text homepage on screen. So we notice that it is working perfectly as designed. So I'm just going to adjust my layout a little bit. Give me just a moment. Just to make sure you can see changes as they take place. So in this portion or today's part of the video, I'm not going to focus too much on the styling of our application, but I am going to provide a simple layout of what it will look like so that when we are ready to add some styling, it'll be a lot easier and it'll make a lot more sense. Yeah, how's it going? Yep. I appreciate you stopping by. I genuinely appreciate it. Yep. Just a Next.js application with the latest version. And then we're using Postgres to persist the data. Yep. So if you do, listen, I'll be happy to answer those. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about JavaScript or anything else in particular, just let me know, and we can absolutely include it. It's not a problem at all. Yep. So let's go ahead and begin to style this project a little bit. No, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and update our GitHub. So first thing I want to do is add a branch. And the name of this branch is going to be Prisma database connection. Press enter. And just to add a comment, I'll just say setup Prisma model and connection. Hello, hello. How's it going, my friend? Thank you so much for giving me some of your attention and stopping by. I appreciate it. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer them. Anything related to coding, Next, JavaScript, you name it. I'm not gonna worry about a pull request right now. We'll do that later on. Uh, I think it's really kind of personal preference. They both kind of have benefits. It really just kind of depends on what you're looking to use it for. And I'm making a personal student kid tracker. So what I want to do is create a crud app today where we can create students, which will be my kids. And ultimately what I want to do is I'm going to have a calendar view and a few other views where I can keep track of all of their school assignments, school grades, any after school events, and I'll have a calendar, and I'm just going to add a little bit of layout right now so I can see quickly, hey, my daughter has a JRTC event today, or my daughter has a volleyball game next Thursday. Something quick and simple for me to keep up with everything so I won't forget. I'm also going to include a model that'll tie back to the student of a class, and each class will have lessons and what time the class is, what grades they got on each lessons, etc. So this will be something that I'll build over multiple days and make into a tutorial maybe eventually. But for right now, just want to kind of build this out, establish the CRUD functionality first, and then we'll kind of add on additional models and functionality from there. But yep, that's basically what we're building. I haven't built it just yet. We're just kind of thinking of something that'll be pretty useful for, and something that I'll actually use and actually want to finish. And I think I know I can use something like this. I haven't been able to find anything other than a typical calendar, but I'm just going to make something of my own over the next couple of days, publish it out on the web, and share the code with anyone else that might want to use it and find value in it. Yep, that's pretty much it. And so let's just make sure that the changes that we just made took. So I'm gonna go back to my Git repo, and we see that we have two pushes available. So we notice that there is a update, and we see that we have the database connection next. And whenever we're ready, we can pull this in. I'm not gonna worry about it right now, but we see the second branch created a Prisma database connection. Perfect. And I may add the code numbers as well. Appreciate it, Elias. Yes, sir. Yeah, so the cool thing about Next, man, if you do decide to build projects, stepping away from Express, React, and if you use Next, you can pretty much do everything with Next without having any additional backend frameworks. So that's one thing I do like about it. You can do everything out of the box with the one framework, and it has everything that you would need to build a full application. So if you do, man, let me know. I'd love to see what you build and love to see how you connect it and maybe pick up some tips, some tricks from you as well. Share the GitHub repo when you're done, brother. And thanks for the comment. I appreciate you stopping by. What's up, man? I appreciate the continued support, man. You always showing me some love. How you doing? I hope you had a good day. Yes, sir. So, like I said, I want to start with a simple layout. We're going to have a header. Eventually, we'll have some form of authentication here and maybe a site name logo. In the middle, I'm going to have the calendar view where I'll have the ability to toggle between a weekly view and a monthly view so I can see what's coming up in the week, what's coming up in the month. And we may use day.js to kind of help with that. And then from there, we'll add in a log that'll be with anything that's going on for today and the ability to see all students. So that's what I'm gonna focus on right now. So no, it changes, man. I actually just happen to have today off, so this is the time that I was able to go live. I am going to try to commit to start going live from 9 p.m. till about 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in the United States. I do intend to commit to that once I can kind of get things stabilized with work and get a good setup going. So right now I just kind of go live whenever I have the opportunity to, but eventually I do plan on having some form of notification out to anybody that may be interested in joining and kind of having a standard time. So great suggestion, Elias. Appreciate it, brother. So we'll start with the simple layout. I like to kind of have things organized within the project. So we'll use Next.js grouping feature in order to group our website or to organize our website, excuse me, into different groups. And the way you access it is by enclosing the name of the group within parentheses. That lets Next.js know that you're going to ignore this as a traditional route. So I'll just name this website and press enter. And the simplest thing to do is just to drag this page.tsx file and drag it inside of the website grouping. So now, just to make sure nothing is broke, I'm just going to refresh the page and everything is still there as normal. I also like to have a unique layout specifically for each grouping. We'll keep the main layout.tsx file here. This is where we'll add any global dependencies or features within the layout, but I won't add any styling to that file. I like to do that within a separate TSX file. So inside of the website grouping, add a file named layout.tsx. And we'll go to layout.tsx that's currently existing. And I just want to copy the type safety code that is pasted within the layout so I don't have to worry about retyping it. And we'll close that out. And with VS Code, to create a export default function, I'm just going to use the RAFCE snippet. And then we'll paste in the code that we just copied. We can remove the React import. And then inside of layout, I'm going to remove, inside of that function, inside of the div, I'll remove the text layout. And we'll add children and enclose it with curly braces. If we click save, we notice that we no longer have React yelling at us because we're no longer getting an error. Remember, layout is a protected file, if you will, within Next.js that lets Next know that this is going to be a layout file, which basically allows you to share one primary layout within multiple routes that's within this layout grouping. So that's perfect. And then to begin, have a simple layout or structure design, if you will. Inside of the div, I'm going to give it a class name, and we'll set the height to full. And just to make sure this is working as I intended, I'm going to set the background color to amber 400. Click save. And we notice that the entire page is now the amber color. So when we set the height to full, we notice that this takes up the entire screen. And if I delete that text, click save, you notice that it is now no longer taking up the entire screen. So perfect there. I do want this to have a grid layout. Typically, whenever I style a website, I always either use Flex or Grid to kind of help the website have structure and better responsiveness. And we're going to have grid columns. Just want to set that to 1 because we'll have 1 column for the entire layout. And the amount of rows I want to have will be 12. And then we'll click save. So we'll have a header that will be consistent throughout the layout. And like I mentioned, I'll have a calendar view in addition to a all student list listed here. So we'll work on the structure a little bit more now. So the header, inside of the div, I'll add another div and we'll just add the text header just so we have something on screen. And to give that component, once we created some structure, we're going to set the, or give it a class name of grid span. I'm sorry, I think it is span, no, columns span. There it is, column span 1. And then the row will span, we'll start with 2 to see what that looks like. That shouldn't be in, that should be span, sorry. Click save. And let's give it a background color just to see what it looks like of orange. 200, click save. All right, so 2 is a little big. Let's go down to 1. All right, that looks a little better. So this will represent the header of the project. I'm not going to worry about styling it right now. We'll go flex, item center. That works. And I'll give some padding on the X of 4. We'll go border bottom, border neutral 100. This is giving a border at the bottom, and you'll see it a little better once I remove this background color listed there. And I actually want to, no, I don't intend to use AI. Not yet anyway. Maybe as the project becomes a little more sophisticated, I'll use AI. For right now, I'm pretty comfortable with not using AI to get this CRUD project up and going. But I will use it later on, and I do use it. I think it has a lot of value. And as long as you understand what you're looking for and not just relying on it for everything, it adds a lot of value to the overall development experience. And we'll go border dotted. Great question though, brother. Great question. Okay, so that's that there. So now I want to spend some time styling the main section of this application. So we'll just copy the children that's enclosed within curly braces underneath that div, and we'll add a main HTML tag, and we can paste back in children. To make sure that we get the layout that we're looking for, we'll add a class name. We'll set the background color temporarily to purple 200. And we'll give this a column span of 1 and a row span of, we went 12, let's make it 10. Press enter. So now we notice that this is taking up the remaining portion, and we may add a footer at the bottom just to have one listed there. I'll add a footer tag now. We'll say footer, and that's going to be the exact same as the div, except we'll have a border at the top. So I'll change that portion. We can just copy this code, add it into the footer, and instead of it being border bottom, let's make it border top. Click save. And now we have a footer listed there. And if I remove the color from the main background, there we go. All right, so now that's cared for. Let's add some padding on the X of 4. There we go. So now we have the layout of our student tracker application. We have a header, a home page, and a footer. We'll close the layout for right now, and we'll focus on it later on. Let's shift our focus to adding a little bit of a layout to the main screen or the main home layout of our application. So within this div, just to make sure we get the desired styling, we'll set the height to full and set the background color to red 300. And as you notice, we now have this as our layout that takes up the home page. We'll remove the background color for right now. And basically what I want is a calendar view listed here, and I want a list of all students listed here. The calendar view will have a tab that will allow us to toggle between a weekly and monthly view. And it will also have the ability to toggle in between the dates so that we can see what we have taking place on that day. Okay. Appreciate it, brother. Stop back by, man. And I appreciate the support as always. And if you're going live or anything, let me know. I'll be happy to show some love right back to you. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, so within the home page, I'm not going to worry about the desktop view for right now. We'll just go grid. We want a grid column of 1, and we'll set the grid rows to, let's set it to 8. We'll make this grid calendar, and the second div will be all students. We'll set the columns to span 1, and I want the row to span, let's try 3. We'll set the background to amber 200. Go class name, column span 1, row span 5. And we'll set the background to purple 300. Okay, I think that works. And this will be just a simple calendar view listed here. And we'll have the ability to toggle between a weekly view and a monthly view. And we can see color coded with our child, our student, to see what child may have an event. And as we click on that day, we'll be able to see what exactly is going on. But we'll add that functionality later. But right now, we'll just focus on the all students. So I'm going to remove this background color. And I'm also going to remove this background color. And I'll add border. I won't worry about a border right now. Let's go ahead and add in the ability to create a student. And I think I want a pop-up model in order to accomplish that. So we'll go That's a div. We'll add another div as action bar, and we'll add a new div, and we'll student listing. Yep, absolutely. So just building a full stack Next.js application. I intend to use this for myself. It's going to be a student tracker that'll allow me to keep up with all of the events that are going on for my child, and you can customize it for yourself. And I intend to actually deploy and actually use this on a daily basis and add features to it during this live time. I'll go back and rename the title. But yeah, I want to build something practical, something that I could actually use to solve a problem. I haven't been able to find anything that mirrors what I'm looking for, but I will, in that case, just create my own, so I don't have to worry about it. Right. All right. So we'll go class name. You know what? Let me set the maximum width of this as well. Let's see what that looks like. Background, Amber 200. All right. And we'll go class name, background blue, just to see what it looks like. We'll set the height to full. Perfect. And then to give this action bar, I'm not going to worry about any padding for it. So let's go to the Daisy UI documentations and let's add us a pop-up model. So we have it installed. We're using Next.js. Yep. Okay, so that's just if we want to add those additional features, but I'm not worried about those right now. Is it components? We want a model. There we go. Yep, the dialog HTML and the checkbox, anchor tags. So this one is using a on click. And the reason I don't want to use this one is because I'm keeping as much of this code as I can server side without any front end use client or React hooks. And if I use on click, that obviously is a front end React hook, and we'll have to include or make this component somehow a client component, but I don't wish to do that. So if I recall, there is a checkbox model, I believe. Yep, right here, where we can satisfy both things. I can still have the pop-up model and all the functionality, but I can also keep this code server side without bringing in the use client directive and making my page a client side page. Nothing wrong with having client side code. I just like to keep it as much to the server side as I possibly can. So we'll just copy this checkbox inside of the action bar div. I'm just going to paste this code in. And if we click on open model, we see that the model actually works. So that's absolutely perfect. So instead of it saying open model, I'm going to change this to add kid. We don't have to be so formal. And I'll remove the background color so we can see the model a little better and maybe add a little padding on the X of, no, we'll add some padding on the Y of 2. Perfect. And I think I can make this calendar a little smaller. We'll change this to 2 and this to 6. All right, I think that works. And I'll need to fix this footer or remove it at some point, but I'm not concerned with that right now. Now what I want to shift my focus to is adding a kid. So instead of it saying hello, we'll just open this up. We'll just say add child, add another child below. Make that capital, make this capital. Click save. All right. And I think what we'll do now is, I guess the question is do we want to go ahead and organize this in the different files and folders right now, or do we just want to go ahead and just get this up and going as quickly as possible? I think we'll just keep it simple and we'll come back and refactor it later, and I can kind of talk through the process of refactoring. So what we'll do now is add in the ability to communicate with our database via server actions, and we'll store all of those actions in one file. And remember, this is taking the place of individual API routes. So in the lib directory, let's add a folder named actions. And for organizations, the first directory will be student. We'll store all of the actions pertaining to our student in this folder, and we'll add one more folder for class, which we won't focus on right now. I just like to have that second folder there just for visual aesthetics for me. So inside of the student directory, the first function I want to create is the ability to create a student. So we'll just create a file named create-student, student.ts. Because we're accessing this function outside of this file and potentially into a client component, we'll need to include the use server directive at the top. We'll need to import Prisma. There it is. And that should be coming from @lib/Prisma. That will give us access to the schema models, in addition to all of the methods that come along with Prisma: create, delete, update. I'm going to bring in revalidate path. This is going to come from next/cache. This is going to allow us to revalidate the data on the server without a hard refresh to the screen. We'll also bring in revalidate path will be fine. Actually, we'll also bring in redirect for right now, I think. I'm not sure we'll need to use it just yet, but we will, if we don't need to use it, then we'll remove it, but I think we will redirect. And that's going to come from next/navigation. I'm going to redirect us back to the home page, but I think it will close out on its own, but we'll see. If we don't need it, we can always remove it. So with this, we have the ability to, with this, we now have all of the imports that we need to create the function. Now let's go ahead and work on that function itself. Hey, what's going on? Yes. I appreciate it. Just building a full stack application using Next.js, Prisma, and Postgres. Yep. Yeah, we're going to work on this. This is going to be something that I'm going to deploy, and I'll work on pretty much on a daily basis because I intend to actually use this. Hey, this is something that I genuinely need to keep up with all the activities of my kids. I'm just going to have the ability to open up the application, see a quick calendar of who may have something going on, toggle between a weekly and daily view, and then from there I'll be able to add a kid if I have a another child that I need to keep up with for one reason or another. And then for each kid, I'll be able to add after school events, classes, lessons, grades, etc. I'm sure something like this may already exist, but I couldn't find anything. So because I couldn't find anything, I just figured the next best thing would be just to make my own. Yep. So with the imports, let's go ahead and thanks for the question, man. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and create a export async function. We're going to name it create student. We'll pass in the form data, and we'll add promise of void. Inside of the function, we'll add a try catch block to make sure we're caring for any potential errors. And we'll only need one const for right now of name, and we'll set it equal to form data.get. And we're just going to pass in name. And we'll say if the type of name is not a string, or there's some white space, we want to make sure that we care for that. So if you submit a empty name, we're going to throw a error because we don't want to receive anything that's not a string, and we also don't want to receive a empty string as well. What's up, sweet thing? Okay. What you getting paid now? What expectations and schedule? Twelve to eight for training, and then you go back to your same schedule, and they're gonna get mad when you call out. That shit up to you. I ain't I certainly ain't opposed to it because you definitely got the talent and deserve to do more. What you get paid for manpower? Yeah, she still get more for manpower. Oh shit. What you want to do? That's the. What I'm saying, you ready to lock in like that? I understand. He saw it. I don't know if he paid it any attention, to be honest with you. 'Cause he just ran straight in when I opened the door. All right. Sorry about that. So if we get a number or any value other than a string, or we get a blank name, then we're not going to submit anything in that event. So what we want to do is throw a new error back to the user, just indicating that it is a invalid project name. But if we do get a string that is not empty, we want to create a new student, and we'll set that equal to await Prisma. And once we click Prisma dot, we want to use project. I'm sorry, we want to use Prisma student because that's the name of our model. And we'll go Prisma dot create, and we're going to create a name. via the name that we receive from the form data. And let me make sure I'm in this virtual environment that I get the IntelliSense from Prisma. I think it is this one. I'm just installing this package with the hopes that this will give me access to the Prisma IntelliSense so that it'll kind of automatically give me recommendations for names and things of that sort. Because I felt like it should have just then, but maybe because I'm in this virtual environment, I didn't have it installed. So let me just try something here. Oh, syntax highlighting. This might be it right here. I'm gonna do the first two. Just a moment here. All right. It's still installing and it is finished. So let's see something now. No, it's prisma.students.create. Well, it still didn't just then, but that's okay. We will if I get an error message, we'll know what to do with it. We'll troubleshoot it from there. In fact, if we get an error message, let me go ahead and care for that now. Inside of the catch portion, we'll just add console.log error creating student. Message. We're passing error. And then outside of the catch block, try catch block, if everything is successful, we'll use revalidate path to revalidate the data, and we'll redirect the user back to the home page. But I don't know if we need redirect, but we're just going to add it for right now. So now we're ready to use this function in order to create a student. So I'll go back to the page.tsx file that has all of the data. And we are ready to use a form to create a student. And I think the easier or the more practical route, just to keep it simple, is to use a form action or to use the action prop within the form. And we'll always modify that later on. So I will remove this p tag and add a form. This form will have a action. The action that we want, it should be create student, and it should be coming from @lib/actions, which is what we just created. That satisfies the error. And then inside of the input, or inside of the form, excuse me, let's get something on screen here. We'll add a placeholder of name. We'll say add the kid's name. We'll give this a ID of name, a name of name, type of text, and we'll use Daisy UI to kind of help with the styling. So if we go to components, what we want is a input field. This is going to help us with styling a little bit. If we look at the JSX, the input, we just need the class name of input. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it in. Oh, there. So we see that we have that input looks nice listed there. And I'll give this form a class name and a padding on the Y of 2. And then underneath this input, let's just add a button that will give us the ability to submit this data. So we'll add underneath input, we'll add, oh no, that's too much. Whew. There we go. This the form, we'll add a button. We'll go add student. All right. I would rather it be underneath this input, so I will go flex and set the direction to column. And we'll go btn. Set the width to full and give it a little gap of 4. We'll make this text centered. Will this work? Let me see something. Can I put this inside of the form? And what I'll do next is put this in a div. Give it a class name of flex, item centered, a width of full. And I'll give this a width of full. Yeah, that's okay. I was trying to see if I can change the layout of it a little bit, but it's okay. I'm not terribly worried about that right now. We'll come back and focus on that later. Yeah, just a hey, how you doing? Thank you for stopping by. Just a full stack Next.js application using Next as the framework, Prisma as the ORM, and Postgres database. Just a simple way for me to keep up with all of the events that my kids have going on. So just creating this simple student tracker is what I called it. So we'll have the ability to see all of our kids. We'll have a calendar view that'll give a color indicator of what child may have an event going on the specific day. And then from there, we'll have all of our kids listed, and if we click on a child's name, then we'll be redirected to a view that shows any sporting events they may have going on. I may add the ability to keep up with stats. I know my kids like to kind of know their numbers, any grades, classes, lessons, things like that. We're going to store all of that information there. But with this, it should be ready to go and ready for us to test it out to see if it works. So what should happen is we'll add a child's name. Once we do that, this model should close out. We'll be redirected back to the home route, and we won't see anything just yet because we don't have the ability to see all of the kids just yet, but we'll add that in just a moment. So we'll test this out. My first son or child nickname is Jace. So we'll add that. We'll click add student. Got a quick redirect back to the home page. We don't see anything right now because, like I mentioned, we don't have anything listed. So let's do this. We'll go back to Prisma. We have the database interface set up. If we refresh this page, we see that we now have a student listed in the database. The ID is uniquely provided by Prisma. The name is the name we just added, which is Jace, and created at updated is captured now. All right, and we'll go ahead and do that now. So great, we have the ability to create. Let's go ahead and shift our focus to the adding the ability to get all of our students. All right, so the ability to get all of our students is going to be rather simple, and I think I'm gonna have to change this, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. It's going to be very simple. We can actually go ahead and begin to write that code now. So the first thing we'll do is we'll import Prisma, and that should come from @lib/prisma.ts, but we'll just find it right here. And then because this is a server component and we're running a server function, we need to mark this export function of homepage as async. So to be export default async. And we'll just use the find many method to capture all of the students. Inside of the function, we'll go const students is equal to await prisma dot student dot find many MINY. We'll click save. All right, so we notice that our code is no longer broken. If we go down to the div section labeled student listing, we're going to use a little bit of JavaScript to kind of help us bring this to life. I think what we'll do is we'll have a grid layout and place each student in a specific grid. Again, we'll refactor and clean all this up later. I just want to get a CRUD project going for right now. So we'll add a div and we'll give it a class name with grid columns of 2. Yeah, and on medium devices, we'll set the grid columns to 3. And I'll give some padding of 2. All right. Don't notice much right now, but that's okay. And what we want to do now is map over the students array that we're capturing from Prisma and display them on screen. So we're going to be using some JavaScript, so we know we'll need to add the curly braces, and we'll go students dot map, and for each student or each item inside of the students array, I'm going to name it student. And I think we'll use link. Do I want to use link? No, we won't use link. We'll use a div with a key of student.id. I think I need to put this in parentheses. You know what? I think it is this. We'll go div. I just want to make sure it's working right now. Student.name. Yep, and we see the kid name of Jace, so we know that it is working. So I'm getting a type error. I think I need to. So this wants me, because I didn't use any, it just basically wants me to care for Oh my, that's quite a bit of code. I know I can reduce that a little bit. Um, Let me think about this for a second. That's right. I need to update this array in the event. Let me change this. So it should be students colon, and it is student UNT. Again, we'll go await. Yep. Um, Actually, I'm just going to come back to that for right now. Um, Let me see something. Let me do this. We have the div. Let's give it a class name of flex, item centered, a width of full, and a background color of amber 300. All right, so it is taking up the appropriate amount of space. We'll add padding of 2 just to make it a little bigger, and we'll style this a little bit more. So what I want now is we'll add a edit button, and if we click this button, we should get a pop-up model that will allow us to update the student. So we'll just go edit. Let's go flex justify between. There we go. All right, so we'll replace this with the exact same model that we just created. Uh-oh. Hey there. Look, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, just a Next.js application. We're just doing CRUD features today, or at least for right now, I should say. Basically, what I'm building is uh, the ability to keep track of my kids' activities and their classes and what teachers and what period this class in. Just have a better organization of it. Something I can look back on and day as well too. So, and I also want to keep track of their after school events as well. So I didn't see anything that existed that worked the way I wanted it to or intended, thought it should work, I should say. So I just decided to build something on my own, use my imagination and use the the skills that I have earned or developed to make better use of it. Yeah. Yep. That's all. I won't build, no, I'm not going to build the entire thing today, but I am going to make sure that it is crud capability, and anyone that wants to follow along, I do intend to kind of turn this into a actual video to kind of help with that. Yep. So let me try this. I'm going to import this from Prisma, and I think this will care for my issue, but I can't remember what exactly is giving me this error. It's gonna drive me crazy. So I tell you what, for right now, I'm gonna come back to it. I said I wasn't going to focus on every little bug for right now. I'm just going to include that type. And I believe if I come back up and just define the type of student, that'll care for the error and that'll fix the type safety issue. But for right now, I'm just gonna focus on edit and delete. So we'll add this div, and this will be div for edit, and then we'll add one more for delete. And then we'll give this some direction. We'll go class of flex, item centered, space on the x axis of 2. There we go. So we'll replace edit with our model, which I believe may be a little too big for the space, but that's okay. We'll figure that part out. So I'm just gonna copy this. You know what? We'll make it easier for everyone that may be following along. So let's go ahead and establish the function that's going to give us the ability to update the student in the event we need to update our student. So inside of the actions directory, add a file named update student.tsx, excuse me. We'll add the function that will give us the ability to update a student, and we'll pass this function back to the front end the same way that we just did with the ability to create. So first thing we know that we need is to mark this as a use server file. So we'll add the use server directive at the top. We'll import Prisma just as we have in the project, and this will be coming from @/lib/Prisma. We'll bring in revalidate path. That'll come from next path, next cache. And we'll also import redirect. That will come from next navigation. Yes. Just yeah, we're almost finished. I probably, once this is done, I'll probably stop for right now and maybe come back to it later on today. I got a couple other things to do, but yes, you'll have a full crud capability by the time we're finished. That's correct. Look, and I appreciate you stopping by, showing some support, man. It is genuinely appreciated. Yep. All right. So now we're ready to create the function. So we're at an export asynchronous function, and this is going to be update student, and we're going to pass in form data, and we know we'll need form data with that. And we'll go promise void. I'm sorry, that don't go there. It's like the syntax is promise, promise, void. Let's add the try catch. So we'll be getting 2 pieces of information from the front end whenever we need to update a student. The first will be the ID so that we can uniquely identify and capture the correct student. And then the next we'll be getting back is the name, because that's the only thing that we can update as of right now. but we'll be adding more fields to the student in a later video. I want the same validation that we had for create student. So in the event we get a blank name, an empty string, or we get a data type that is not a string, we want to make sure that we are throwing a error. And this is going to be validation for the name and also for the ID. So we'll go ID, and instead of it being name, we'll go ID. Okay, perfect. So then with that, now we're ready to create a const name existing student, and we'll set that equal to await prisma dot student, which is the name of the model. There's that IntelliSense I was looking for. And then what we want to do is find unique, UNIQUE, where the ID matches. And that's going to make sure that we capture the correct student. And then if we don't get an existing student, we want to throw a new error, saying student not found. But if we do locate the student, now we want to update it. So we'll say const updating student. We'll set that equal to await prisma dot student dot update, and we'll say where the ID matches the ID and the data we should be getting is name. Perfect. And if we get an error, excuse me, we'll go console.log error updating student. And if everything goes successfully with the try catch, or excuse me, if everything goes successfully with adding a student, we'll just revalidate the path back to the home page, and we'll redirect the user back to the home page. I'm sorry. We'll revalidate the path of the home page so that we're capturing the most up-to-date data, and we'll redirect the user back to the user. Hey man, what's going on, my brother? How you doing? Thank you for stopping by. Cinex Sid. Sorry for mispronouncing your name, my friend, but I appreciate you stopping by, showing some love on the used tubes. So now we're ready to use this function within the edit window. So let's focus on that now. Yep. Oh boy. You know it. You know it. Yep, got a day off from work, so just want to hang out a little bit, do a little bit of full stack coding, and having a good day. So let's focus on yeah. If you have any questions, yeah, I'll be happy to answer them. That's why I'm part of the reason I'm live is to spend some time with you all and answer any questions that you may have. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yep. So we'll focus on, yeah, we're going to do updating now. So back in the page.tsx file, we're going to replace edit with a model, the same one that we copied before. I'm just going to redo it so that we're not just copying and pasting everything. but we'll go back to the Daisy UI, documentation. Sorry. My fingers swiped everything down, sorry. We'll go back to the Daisy UI documentation, click on model. And remember, we want to use the checkbox legacy because this is all server side and we don't have any client side code. So we have this component marked as asynchronous, so a on-click handler won't work. I'm just going to paste this in for right now, and I know it looks a little funky, but that's okay. We'll clean this up a little bit, remove the edit, and instead of it reading open model, I'm just going to type in edit, and I don't want it to be a btn. So if you click on edit, it still opens. Uh-oh, it's pulling up that model. Why is it pulling? Let me refresh this. Give me 1 second. Not getting. Let me say update student. I wonder why is it. Let me comment this out really quick. All right, I'll just delete it. Okay, so that works there. So is it too close to it? Let me see something. Because if I remove it, it works. Maybe it is my mouse. No, it's not tabbing down. So, okay, let me see something. Margin top up to, no, padding top up to 4. There. No, we'll come back to that as well. So for some reason, when I click on this model, or when I click on this link or edit, what if I add BTN back to this? Still want to give me the add child versus the edit, but okay, that's okay for right now. I will just comment this out. I just want to make sure we have the CRUD capability. Model works, yep. I'm gonna research that. That's interesting, but I believe it may have something to do with some HTML behavior, but I'm not going to be too concerned with it right now. I just want to get the rest of this working. So I'll just keep it like this for right now. And we'll remove this p tag, replace it with a form. We'll go ahead and import the update student action. That is coming from @lib/action/student. That's the function that's going to give us the ability to update the student. And inside of the form, we'll pass in that action of update student. So we know we'll need to pass in two items inside of this form. The first one is going to be the ID. So we'll add the input with a ID of ID. The name will be ID. I'm going to add hidden. Well, we won't add hidden just yet because I want to make sure it is being passed through, but we'll include default value, and the default value will be student.id. And you can see the IntelliSense working from Prisma. These are the two fields for the student. You don't even have to click save, and you can see the ID being passed in. So that's absolutely perfect. But we're going to make this hidden. Perfect. And then underneath that input will be the actual input that we want to display the user. So the the student's information. So we'll pass in default value, and this will be student.name. We'll give this a name of name, a ID of name. Perfect. We'll click save. And I know we're getting this type error for right now. We'll come back and fix that. So I will use AI. It's a great question. I do use AI. I'm not going to use it right this moment because this is fairly simple. I just wanted to do a quick CRUD app to get it started. But as this project becomes more complicated and the relationship starts to change and we start to add graphs and calendars and things like that, I will use AI to kind of help with a lot of this, or some of that, I should say. And I will show that just to kind of show my ideology or thought process behind using AI. But I'm a fan. It works. It's just like Google to me, saves a little bit of time. And I think it's smart to use it. Just don't rely on it to the point where you don't know how to do things without it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I absolutely use it, brother. Great question. And then to make sure this is working, we'll add a button with a type of submit. And we'll just include update student, click save. Uh-oh, need to change the layout of the form. We'll add a class name of flex and flex column, click save. Perfect. And I'll give this a little bit of styling with BTN. No, that's in the type, sorry. Class name, BTN. And we'll set this input with the full. And we'll go gap of 2. Perfect. So now this should kind of give a quick refresh and revalidate the data and take us back to the home page, and we should see the update. So instead of Jace, I'm going to change Jace to Jada. Hit update, and we see that Jace is now updated from from Jace to Jada. We'll change it's still directing to add. So you know what? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this so that this is reusable. And if you click on the edit button, it should pass it through. But I'm thinking because it's so close, or maybe there's some behavior that I need to make unique within the form so that within the button, so it distinguishes between the two. But this would be something that if I didn't feel like debugging, I could use AI to kind of help with this to answer your question. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. I just want to get the CRUD functionality working because I just want to get a quick CRUD app going. So I'm gonna go ahead and add another kid to make sure the layout is working. So, and we've just seen that the ability to update works. So we went from Jace to Jada. Now we're gonna add Jace back. We'll click add student. And we see that we now have the second student there, and let's add a little bit of a gap of 2. Perfect. So now the students are separated and they are within their respective divs. Last CRUD feature we need to add is the ability to delete. So we'll go ahead and first start by adding that function. So in the lib directory inside of actions, then inside of student, let's add a file named delete student.ts. Within this file, this is where we're going to store the function to delete a student. We already have the ability to update and add, but now we're going to shift our focus to delete. And that'll be fairly simple, and that will complete out the CRUD functionality of the project. And like I said, I'll probably come back later on this evening, add some styling, add the calendar and a few other things with it, just so that it is a little more visually appealing than what it is right now. But the key or the focus of this portion of the video was to just get something off the ground. So we'll start by marking this file as use server because we intend to use this outside of this directory. We're going to import Prisma, and that's going to come from @/lib/Prisma. We'll bring in revalidate path from next cache, and we'll also bring in redirect. That is coming from next navigation. Create a export async function will be delete student, and we'll pass in form data, and it will be form data. This will be the promise, and make this void. Then inside of it, we need a try catch. We should be passing in nothing but the ID because that's all we need to uniquely identify the student and remove that student from the list. And I'm going to copy the validation that I use for update because it is the exact same code. No sense of typing it back out. Once we validated that the ID does exist, we'll go await Prisma dot project dot delete, and then what we're passing in is where the ID matches. If we get an error, we're going to log it to the console. Error deleting student. Why do I keep saying project? This is student, sorry. But if everything works and we're able to delete that student successfully, we're just going to revalidate the path and click save. Now we're ready to use this function within our application. So we will go back to our page.tsx, and right here we have the word delete, which is right here on the card, and we basically just want to replace that with the ability to delete the student. Once we click that button, no need to refresh or change windows or anything like that. So let me focus on that now. We'll go ahead and import it up top. We'll go import curly braces delete student, and it should be coming from @/lib. And then all we need to do is simply remove the word delete, add a form. This is going to have a input we actually can copy this exact same code listed here and paste it in. We're just pasting in that exact same input. And if we remove hidden, we should see the ID. Yep, we'll add hidden back. Inside of the form, we need to add the action. And the action that we're going to be passing into this form is delete student. Now all we need is a button that reads delete. We'll click save and we'll give it a type of submit. Click save. And once we click this button, that should delete the student from the list. So we'll just click delete. And you see the student is automatically deleted. No refresh is needed. It immediately took place. So now let me go back and add another kid. I'll add Jazzy back. Don't need that, don't need that. We'll add Jasmine or Jazz, I should probably say Jazzy. Yeah, add. All right, I don't think we necessarily need that refresh. Let me remove the redirect and let's see if it works. Luckily, I have another child I can add. So I'll add my baby girl Jada, hit save. All right, so it doesn't automatically refresh without the redirect. So we'll add my youngest, Jack. What I'll do is I'll add a loading skeleton in an upcoming video so that we have something displaying while it is updating the data. But with that, I think we are ready to deploy the project because that completes out the crud functionality. So let's go ahead and push this to Git. We'll go over to source code. Let's add a branch. The branch name will be student crud. No, I'm sorry. We'll go layout and student crud. And then the commit will be added layout and student crud access. And we'll click commit, publish branch. I'm not going to pull this in just yet. We'll kind of talk about that in a later video, but let's make sure that it works. We'll go back to our Git repository, refresh it. And if we click the drop down arrow, we see that we now have a layout and student crud. And I probably should have numbered these, but I'll go back and rename them later. But we have both of those, all of this code currently uploaded to Git. Now, if you want, we can quickly deploy this project, but it's only going to deploy the main branch. So I'm not going to worry about it right now, but in an upcoming video, we will go ahead and deploy it. All you need to do is create a pull request to pull in this code. I'll do it right quick for those that might be interested. And we'll do create pull requests. And then we'll do a merge, confirm the merge. Now everything is successfully merged. Go back to our CRUD app. There, all of the changes are merged into the main branch. So now we'll go to package.json. Only thing we need to do is add, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong thing. Go to package.json. All we'll need to do is come up to where right up under lint, we'll add a comma and we'll add a new key named post install. And the value we're going to give it is Prisma generate. Click save. This is what's going to allow us to generate this client after or once we hit production. And if we go back to Vercel, yeah, I know I need to clear up some resources. Yeah. And we'll click on Vercel.com. I'm already logged in. We'll just click on add new. We're going to add a new project. We're going to bring in the Prisma CRUD app that we just created. We'll click import. We already have the framework selected of Next. We do need to, the root directory is already set to /. We just need to add the environment variables. So we'll go back to the project, copy all of the variables, paste it into Vercel, environment variables accordion, and we'll click deploy. Yeah, man, you're using it perfectly as designed. You're somebody that seems like a seasoned or skilled coder, so it makes all the sense in the world for you, man, to not waste your time writing some of the quote unquote lower level code, if you will, or beginner code, and more so kind of have the AI build it for you and you just oversee the process. So no, there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I've done that on some projects as well. I just like to still kind of build these out from scratch for those that might be curious. And plus I can maybe refactor this into a actual video to kind of help someone else that's just getting started. But to your point, typically I will use AI to kind of help me with a lot of that groundwork, and then I'll just kind of oversee the process and bring it all together and debug whatever it has. Because to your point, that's really what you do most of the time, is spend a lot of your time debugging and refactoring and optimizing code. And I know I have some work to do with this, but this is just a simple project to get it going. Yep. Nah, but you're right, brother. You are absolutely right, and thanks for hanging in there with me, man. I appreciate it. So it is in the process of deploying right now. And once we get a success message or get redirected, we'll test it out. And we should see this exact same, you know what I did in, I know exactly what I didn't do. Let me update this code to the package.json. It won't work without it. Go to sync changes. And let me make sure that that did pull into all right, so it is finally showing, and let me see. I need it to be on there. I did put this in the package.json, right? Just make sure I ain't going crazy. Yeah, generate Prisma, generate post install. Yeah, okay. So let me just make sure that this gets updated. Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. Get ignore. That looks good. That looks good. Oh, click the wrong button there. Cut out. Yeah, I know I just need to merge or include the, but I put it on the branch, and I don't see it automatically updating. Let me see something. I already know it's not deploying because the whatchamacallit there, but that's okay. Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. One second. Let's see something. See something here. Let me go to the terminal. Going to run git branch. Git checkout main. Yep. Let me add this. So post install Prisma generate. Okay. What is it? Prisma database connection. Prisma database connection. Yep. And then we'll do git name is Prisma. No, layout student crud. Sorry. Checkout layout student crud. Oh, layout dash and student crud. Sorry. That is layout dash and student crud. Git checkout layout dash and dash student dash crud. Student dash crud. Student dash crud. 1 second. I am trying. Let me see something. No, no, no. I um I just need to yeah. I just need to deploy it, and I know I have to add um I know I have to add some additional. Yep. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's fine. It's no big deal. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to blank for a second. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's already crud done. Right now I'm going to deploy it real quick, and then I'm going to have to head out here in a second. Yep, that's correct. Cool. So I will we'll finish this up later on. I need to jet, but I appreciate everyone